Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Operation Sindoor showed us what we've always known: America's support to Pakistan. It was American jets that Pakistan used to attack India, American-backed money that Pakistan uses to fund its terror factories, and American legitimacy for the generals who run this show. If you need more proof, you will see it later this week. The US has invited Pakistan's army chief for its Military Day parade, which also happens to be Donald Trump's birthday. How should India view this? We'll discuss that tonight. Also in focus, what is the real story of the US-China trade deal? Why aren't markets excited? While Los Angeles is under curfew on day 6 of the riots, and how the unrest is spreading to many other American cities. How misinformation and fake news is fueling the violent protests in America. What's with the Trump-Musk détente? What made the Tesla CEO say sorry? Can Rapido disrupt India's food delivery market, which is currently ruled by two giants? What's behind India's plans to freeze AC temperatures? What is Mark Zuckerberg's super intelligence team that he's personally hiring? How the death of an activist in police custody has sparked protests in Kenya? And what is influencer diplomacy? It's the latest propaganda tool that China is wielding. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Iran threatens to target US military bases in the region if a conflict breaks out. This comes after Donald Trump said he was less confident about reaching a nuclear deal with Tehran. Since April, the two countries have held 5 rounds of talks. The US has multiple bases in West Asia. The largest is located in Qatar. Turkey to export 48 homemade fighter jets to Indonesia. The contract is valued at $10 billion. It includes the production and delivery of the Khan fighter jets over a 10-year period. Turkey's defense sector accounts for a significant share of the country's export revenues. Bangladesh's interim leader Mohammad Yunus says he will step down after the election. Polls in the country are to be held in April next year. Yunus, who's in London, is expected to meet former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia's son. He's the acting chairman of Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which is expected to sweep this election. The Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces claim a key victory, say their fighters have seized a strategic zone on the border with Egypt and Libya. The Sudanese army had announced their withdrawal from this area after accusing Libya of helping the RSF. Lawmakers in Kosovo failed to elect a speaker for the 30th time. The country has been without a government for more than 4 months. In February, the Prime Minister's party won the election but was unable to form a majority government. And in Hong Kong, downloading a mobile game could be a national security crime. In the game, players attempt to overthrow the Chinese Communist regime. It has been developed by a Taiwan-based company. Since the 2019 pro-democracy protests, Beijing has tightened its grip over Hong Kong. Field Marshal Asim Munir has got an invite, not from iron brother China, not from Islamist buddy Turkey, but from the United States. Reports say the Pakistani army chief is heading to Washington. For what? For America's Army Day celebrations. This Saturday marks the 250th anniversary of the US Army. Funnily enough, it is also President Donald Trump's birthday, so he has planned a big military parade. Tanks, helicopters, warplanes, paratroopers, soldiers, all of them will join this grand parade, and that's apparently why Asim Munir is going, to take part as a guest. If that happens, it will be an affront to India. Pakistan is ramping up support to terrorists. In April, they sponsored the attack in Kashmir's Pahalgam. 26 innocent civilians were killed by Pakistani and Pakistan-backed terrorists. And Asim Munir is the face of this brutality. Days before the attack, he was spewing venom against India. He called Kashmir their jugular vein. When India hit back, he targeted Indian civilians. His army destroyed houses near the line of control. Basically, this one man, Asim Munir, brought two nuclear powers to the brink of war. And what does the US do? They invite him to attend their parade. Classic Washington. They've always given Islamabad a free pass, whether it's for supporting the Taliban in Afghanistan or hosting Osama bin Laden or sponsoring terror against India. Nothing they do, nothing the Pakistanis do, seems to anger the US. And this time is no different. Asim Munir is expected to reach the US tomorrow, in fact. Chances are that he will meet top American officials. And then on Sunday, he will attend the military parade. Some reports say this could be a pressure tactic, that Washington will ask tough questions to Asim Munir, that they will press Pakistan to fight terror. Now, we cannot read Donald Trump's mind, but this sounds very unlikely. Because Trump's generals are singing praises of Pakistan. Let me introduce General Michael Kurilla. He heads the US Central Command. He looks after American operations in West Asia, South Asia, and Central Asia. And listen to what he said about Pakistan.
So we are seeing Pakistan, with limited intelligence that we're providing them, go after them using their means to do that. And we're seeing an effect on ISIS course. Pakistan had over 1,000 terrorist attacks in the western area, killing about 700 security and civilians and 2,500 wounded. They're in an active counterterrorism fight right now. And they have been a phenomenal partner in the counterterrorism world.
In case you missed that, I will repeat. General Kurilla called Pakistan a phenomenal counter-terrorism partner. Are we talking about the same Pakistan? The Pakistan we know is home to 150 designated terrorists. Its politicians share stage with terror leaders. Its army openly funds and arms them. How exactly is that Pakistan fighting terror? It's a mystery to us. And this is despite India's diplomatic push. Last week, an Indian delegation visited Washington. It presented India's case to Vice President J.D. Vance. And days later, what does the US do? They invite Asim Munir to America. And don't expect this policy to change, because American support for Pakistan is not just political, it is rooted in their security infrastructure. Presidents may come and go, but US generals want a relationship with Pakistan. Again, listen to Michael Kurilla.
We have to have a relationship with Pakistan and with India. I do not believe it is a binary switch, that we can't have one with Pakistan if we have a relationship with India. We should look at the merits of the relationship for the positives that it has.
Now, a couple of things to note here. For starters, he's clubbing India with Pakistan, though in reality, there is no comparison whatsoever. One is a $4 trillion economy, the other is a basket case. And secondly, he says there is merit in America's ties to Pakistan. Frankly, that is revealing. What could that merit possibly be? Certainly not trade. Definitely not investments. Trump doesn't care about people-to-people ties. So what exactly is this merit? Possibly Afghanistan and China. Beijing has made significant inroads into Pakistan. I'm sure the US would like to counter that. Plus, after Afghanistan, the Americans don't have any presence in South Asia. The only candidate for such a presence is Pakistan. Hence, this obsession with Islamabad. And it's not just the US. Other Western countries are equally guilty. Reports say Pakistan is looking to buy air defense systems from Germany. Specifically, their IRIS-T systems. Now, chances are Islamabad was rattled by India's airstrikes. Our BrahMos missiles hit their bases at will, and Pakistan's Chinese air defenses were mostly caught napping. But why turn to Germany? Perhaps due to the Ukraine war. Germany has given these systems to Ukraine. Apparently, they have been successful against Russian missiles that are quite similar to our BrahMos. Maybe that is why Islamabad is looking to Berlin. Let's see how the German government responds. Historically, they have been reluctant to ship lethal weapons. So if they want to, they can turn down Pakistan. The Germans can do that. As for the US, India needs a rethink. We have invested time and political capital in this relationship with the US. We have overcome historical reluctance. We have expanded trade and defense ties. If the US still cannot understand India's concerns, then questions need to be asked. Is this a reliable partner? Or is it an opportunistic partner? Now let's talk about the US and China. After weeks of escalating trade tensions and tit-for-tat measures, the world's biggest economies have called a timeout. The US and China have reached a truce. There is no full agreement yet. What they have agreed to is basically a framework, an outline on how to settle their trade differences. The agreement was reached in London. This was after a marathon 20-hour negotiation.
We've reached a framework for implementation. Now the process will be, we're both going to go back. So the idea is we're going to go back and speak to President Trump and make sure he approves it. They're going to go back and speak to President Xi and make sure he approves it. And if that is approved, we will then implement the framework.
We heard from US President Donald Trump earlier today. He has approved the deal. We are waiting to hear from Chinese President Xi Jinping. In the meantime, let's tell you what this truce is about. It's about access more than anything else. Both sides will reduce restrictions and give more access to each other. This is what the US has said, that China will ease export restrictions on two products, rare earth minerals and magnets. These are the two products, rare earth minerals and magnets. And this has been a major sticking point. Rare earths are critical for manufacturing today. These minerals are used everywhere, from modern day gadgets like smartphones to defense equipment and everything in between. China controls these minerals and magnets. It had curbed supply to the US, but now it will ease those restrictions. And what is China getting in return? Better access to the US. And the Americans too will remove some export curbs. They will go easy on Chinese students. Trump will let them be after complaining about them, after cracking down on them. He has made a stunning U-turn. The US president now says he never had a problem with students. That should be good news for Beijing. Either way, the US is selling this truce as a breakthrough. But investors are not quite convinced. The market reaction to this announcement was muted. Stock prices did not move very much, and that says a lot. Because this agreement lacks substance. The language is vague. The details are scarce, and most importantly, there is no meaningful reduction on tariffs. In fact, none of the diplomatic efforts so far have managed to deliver that. Last month, officials from the US and China met in Geneva. They shook hands on a deal, but within days, that deal fell apart. Both sides accused each other of breaking the agreement. Investors were hoping for more this time. They wanted clarity, they wanted commitment. But what did they get instead? A pledge to implement the very same deal that they struck in Geneva. In other words, the US and China met. They spent 20 hours in a room only to repeat what they'd already committed to before. And this has implications not just for these two countries, but for the global economy. After all, these are the world's two biggest economies, and they're at loggerheads. This is hurting economic projections. The World Bank, for one, has downgraded its outlook. The World Bank is predicting the slowest decade of growth since the 1960s. Forecasts of nearly two-thirds of countries have been cut. This includes major economies like the US, Japan, and Europe. Surprisingly, China is not on this list. China's economic forecast remains steady. The World Bank says Beijing can weather this storm. But America cannot. And that is largely because of Trump's trade war. It has unraveled the US economy. The tariffs have disrupted supply chains, and they are shrinking consumer spending. So the picture looks bleak. Unfortunately, it has a spillover effect on the rest of the world, what happens in the US. Trump's trade war has shaken all key pillars of the global economy. Yes, he has withdrawn the harshest tariffs, but he hasn't rolled back all of them. Like the universal 10% duties on all imports, they still apply, they've not been rolled back. And on top of that, the US is charging import taxes on steel and aluminium. Today, Donald Trump said that he'll still charge a tariff on China, a tax of 55%. Does he really think that the Chinese will not retaliate? Long story short, this trade war is far from over. If anything, it may see a new escalation. It's day 6 of the riots in Los Angeles. The city resembles a fortress right now. You've got riot cops on the streets, National Guard outside federal buildings, and US Marines on standby. Let's look at the situation on the ground first. Local officials have declared a curfew in some parts of LA, especially in the downtown area. This is where federal buildings are located. This is also where the looting happened. The idea of the curfew is to de-escalate the situation, to protect civilians and businesses. And once it was declared, more cops rushed into downtown LA. They marched through some of the busy areas. They also fired rubber bullets to repel the crowd. But the protesters stood firm. They gathered despite the curfew order. The result was mass arrests. At least 200 people have been rounded up, and in many places the standoff continues. You've got crowds on one side, riot cops on the other. It's a situation primed to explode any moment. And what about the National Guard and the Marines? Well, their powers are limited. Donald Trump may have deployed these groups in Los Angeles, but they cannot be used for law enforcement. They can only protect federal assets. As of now, the Marines are stationed on the outskirts of Los Angeles, around 50 kilometers away. The National Guard is outside a couple of federal buildings, but more importantly, they are protecting ICE. Now, ICE, as you would know, stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Think of it as America's border police. ICE has been raiding and rounding up migrants in Los Angeles. In fact, their raids triggered this mobilization and riot in the first place. So the National Guard is now protecting them. They're shielding ICE officers during their operations. Which brings us to the politics. Donald Trump is standing by his decision. He says the soldiers will stay until there is peace.
There's something wrong with these people. All I want in terms of engagement, I just want to see peace. If there's peace, we get out. If there's even a chance of no peace, we stay there until there's peace. And a lot of people are being arrested. The rioters, or whatever you want to call them, they better know a lot of people are being arrested. They're going to be in jail for a long time.
On the other side is Gavin Newsom, governor of California. He's also using this opportunity to score political points. Gavin Newsom says Trump is assaulting democracy.
This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived.
Is Trump politicizing this crisis? Of course he is, but so is Governor Newsom and local officials. They're all doing it. Just think about it. These riots broke out last Friday. The weekend was arguably the worst period. You had shops and businesses looted, police cars burnt, and public property destroyed. Yet when is the curfew imposed? Yesterday, when things had started to cool down. Listen to the LA mayor's excuse.
Let me just say that a curfew has been in consideration for several days, but clearly after the violence that took place last night, 23 businesses looted, and just the extensive, widespread nature of the vandalism, we reached a tipping point and declared a state of emergency and called for the curfew.
If last weekend was not a tipping point, I don't know what is. But either way, the danger is not over yet. The riot is spreading to other cities. In New York, protest marches were held in Manhattan. On Tuesday evening, things started to escalate. There were minor clashes with police officers. In Chicago, similar scenes. Major protests followed by minor clashes. The one worrying incident stands out. A car spread through a crowd of protesters yesterday. Take a look. Well, that could have ended very differently. But fortunately, only one person was hurt. At this point, these protests have gone national. In fact, let me pull up the map for you. New York, Chicago, Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, Denver, Las Vegas, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Seattle, Boston, and Washington, D.C. All these cities have reported anti-ICE protests. Take a look. So what happens next? Well, that could depend on two factors. One, how the Democrats play this. Will they turn this into a national mobilization issue? Or will they take a step back? Yesterday's curfew order suggests some discomfort. They don't want to be seen as promoting violence and riots. Plus, some of these states are Republican. They will follow Trump's crackdown. In Texas, for example, the National Guard has been deployed. They will not tolerate public unrest. The second factor is what happens in California. Despite the violence, ICE has not stopped. They raided multiple locations in California yesterday, and the locals will not like this. You see, California is a state known for its immigrants. Foreign-born people make up 27% of the state's population. That's almost double the national rate. And these include all kinds of people. Maybe workers at the local grocery store, or the guy who built your house, or the IT professionals in Silicon Valley, all the way to Hollywood actors in LA. Migrants are integrated and respected in California, which is why Trump's policy has invited such anger. If the raids continue, so will the anger. Clearly, the situation calls for calm and non-partisan thinking. But it doesn't look like the US has either. We mentioned two factors here, but there's actually a third one too, and that is misinformation. There has been so much fake news about Los Angeles, it has only added to the confusion. Now, it's impossible to debunk all the misinformation out there, but we'll show you the most popular ones. Like this post that shows a bunch of bricks, nothing else, just a random pile of bricks. And what is the claim? That George Soros dropped them off near ICE buildings. It's an old conspiracy theory. The suggestion is that Soros is arming rioters with bricks. Now, we have no love lost for George Soros, but in this case, this is false. This picture is actually from a Malaysian construction site. The next post was pushed by a US Senator, Ted Cruz, from Texas. He posted pictures of a violent riot in Los Angeles, but turned out these were old pictures from the George Floyd protests in 2020. Yet he has not taken down that post. The next one has got more than 2 million views, and what does this one say? That Mexico is planning a military intervention in Los Angeles. Needless to say, this is fake. Mexico has only called for peaceful demonstrations. Our next example is from an account called Real Raw News. It says US Marines arrested their commander in California. Why? Because he was planning to disobey Trump's order. Now, this post has been seen 500,000 times. It has been reposted more than 8,000 times, but again, it is false. No such arrest has been made by the Marines. They are very much complying with the president's order. And now to the final example. This one was posted by a prominent anti-Trump handle. It shows a helicopter flying over Los Angeles, and that too, an attack helicopter. But here's the truth. This video is at least 3 days old. We found a version uploaded to YouTube on the 8th of June, and the Marines were deployed on the 9th of June. So this helicopter was not part of the crackdown. It could be a drill. It could also be a video game. We don't know. All these claims were seen thousands of times on the internet. They were widely shared and reposted. In fact, the riots began due to such rumors. Locals in a place called Paramount spotted ICE agents in their area. They spread rumors of raids in nearby businesses, including at a Home Depot. That is what triggered the mobilization and violence. But again, this was not true. Yes, raids did happen in some parts of Paramount, but not at that Home Depot. The fact is, America was primed for this violence and misinformation. Extreme polarization, check. Relaxed fact-checking rules, check. And massive internet usage, check. This country is already divided along party lines. The Republicans and the Democrats have no trust in each other. And when that happens, you are on a slippery slope already. You may believe anything you hear. You want to believe anything you hear. Experts say technology has made it worse. For example, look at what's happening on X. A lot of people are tagging Grok on certain posts. They're asking the X AI, Grok, to verify the claims or videos. But Grok is getting things wrong. Take a look at this fact check on Grok. It says the earlier helicopter video is from June 9, though we have confirmed that it's at least a day older. The problem is AI is not built on facts. AI is built on data. Right now, every book, every website says the sun rises in the east. So AI will also give you the same information that the sun rises in the east. But what if you rewrite the books to say that the sun rises in the west? Well, then AI will follow suit. And this is the problem with our digital age. I'm afraid there is no easy solution. There are millions of fake news pieces on the internet. It is impossible for anyone to verify all of them. That does not mean that we give up on fact-checking. We must force social media firms to invest in independent fact-checkers. But until then, stay vigilant. Do not believe everything that you see on the internet, and when in doubt, ignore. Do not forward. Last week, Donald Trump and Elon Musk were fighting. This week, they're making up. Elon Musk has posted once again on X. He says he regrets some of his posts on Donald Trump. Musk believes that he went too far. So what are these posts that he regrets? The Tesla CEO did not specify. Remember, this is the same man who was calling for Trump's impeachment. Now, suddenly, it sounds like he wants to be back on the team. So what happened here? Is it the riots in Los Angeles? Is it the collapse in Tesla stocks? Or are the $38 billion in government contracts changing Elon Musk's mind? Our next report tells you.
Come on up here, Elon. He created the first major American car company in generations, and his rocket company is the only...
Not very long ago, Elon Musk and Donald Trump seemed like two halves of the same chaotic coin.
Take over, Elon. Yes, take it.
One launched rockets, the other launched executive orders. They were inseparable, so much so, Elon Musk got the title of First Buddy. Elon Musk backed Trump's re-election bid with his deep pockets. Trump returned the favor by offering him a government department to cut costs.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy.
It was like nothing could ever go wrong. Yet, like all great love stories, this one too ended in some bitter social media posts. The fight was so nuclear and personal, it left Washington, D.C. in shock. Elon Musk accused Trump of hiding Epstein files. Trump threatened to kneecap Musk's empire by pulling billions in government contracts.
President posted yesterday that where to save money, to cancel some of Musk's contracts. How seriously are you considering that?
Well, we'll take a look at everything. I think at everything. He's got a lot of money. That gives a lot of subsidy. So we'll take a look at that. Only if it's fair. Only if it's fair for him and for the country. I would certainly think about a deal, but it has to be fair.
Tesla stocks cratered. Cable news feasted on this. And then, this week, came the whiplash. Elon Musk, in a new post on X, says he regrets some of his posts on Trump. This is the same man who just days ago had called for Trump's impeachment. Now, he says he went too far. So, what happened between last week's flamethrower posts and this week's polite walkback? Was it the riots in Los Angeles? The collapsing Tesla stock? Or is it just another Wednesday in Muskland? To understand how we got here, we need to rewind.
One big, beautiful bill.
It started with a bill, Trump's One Big, Beautiful Bill, a package of tax cuts and spending hikes that would add billions to America's ballooning debt. Elon Musk denounced the bill's fiscal recklessness. Things were still okay when he criticized the bill. But Musk took it one step further, implying that Trump's administration had buried evidence linking him to Jeffrey Epstein. The White House dismissed the claims. But Trump responded with his favorite weapon, vengeance. He publicly floated cutting off Musk's government contracts, that his contracts worth $38 billion. And then came the moment every CEO dreads. Wall Street took notice of this. Tesla stock plunged 14% in a single day, which brings us to Musk's apology. To be clear, he didn't say sorry. Well, not exactly. He just said some of his posts went too far. Which ones? That he didn't say? What we do know is that Musk began quietly deleting the more radioactive posts. He also wrote "cool" to a video of Vance speaking, and he is echoing the administration's posts on Los Angeles. He is backing Trump's moves to deploy troops after anti-immigration raids sparked riots. Of course, Trump noticed. When asked about Musk, he offered a surprisingly magnanimous answer.
I really don't know. I don't think so. I hope not. Look, I wish him well. You understand. We had a good relationship, and I just wish him well. Very well, actually.
He called you, pick up and speak with him.
Well, I don't want to say that, but I would imagine he'd want to talk to me.
That, right there, is the key. Because Trump no longer needs Musk. Between his crypto fundraising empire, his booming base, and a Republican Party firmly in his grip, Trump has leverage. Musk, on the other hand, does not. He has $38 billion in government contracts to protect. He needs federal green lights for autonomous vehicles. He needs government launches for SpaceX. He needs regulatory goodwill for Neuralink and Starlink. And he needs investors to believe he hasn't lost the plot. So consider this a strategic retreat. Two of the most powerful, unpredictable men in America locked horns. One of them blinked. And now, there's a semi-apology on X. You can call it a détente. You can call it damage control. But all we know is that this is not over yet. This is America's new Cold War between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And right now, it's just warming up.
If you live in India, here's a quick question. Have you ever tried ordering food online? Chances are you have. So now picture this. You're hungry, you open an app, you spot a nice sandwich, 120 rupees. But then you hit checkout and boom, your bill is now 250 rupees. So what happened here? You're left wondering, did you accidentally add a side of something else? But the real culprit here is hidden fees. There's a packaging fee, a delivery fee, platform fee, and sometimes even a surge fee. So that 120 rupee sandwich is suddenly 250 rupees. This is the state of India's food delivery market in 2025, and it's pretty much a two-horse race. Swiggy and Zomato. Together, they rule the game. They dominate the market that's only getting bigger and hungrier. But behind this convenience, there's growing discontent. Restaurants complain about high commissions, customers grumble about hidden charges. So now someone wants to shake things up. I'm talking about Rapido. You probably know them for their bike taxis, but they now want a slice of the food delivery pie. The platform is likely to be called Only, OWNLY. And Rapido wants to make it low cost and transparent. The question, of course, is how? Well, Rapido has only 2 words for it, for its big pitch. Zero commissions, that is their promise. Usually, food delivery apps charge a commission from restaurants. It ranges from 16 to 30%. Rapido says it will not charge any commission. Instead, there will be a flat subscription fee for restaurants. Additionally, Rapido will subsidize delivery costs. And restaurants also have an option. They can either use Rapido's delivery fleet or they can deliver it themselves. And the company is not going into this blind. Reports suggest that they have been in discussion with the NRAI, the National Restaurant Association of India. It's a body that represents more than 500,000 restaurants, and most of them have the same grievances. High commission charges by apps, exorbitant spending on ads, lack of customer data, and skewed power dynamics. So the Restaurant Association has been in talks with Rapido to explore a more sustainable model, one that is transparent and also caters to the customers with low-cost options. So Rapido wants to become the Robin Hood of food delivery. But can they? Do they have the capability? They already have 4 million riders. Every day they log 3 to 3.5 million rides, so they will not have to start from scratch. Plus they've got some fresh funding, so money and logistics won't be a problem. And they're leaning into servicing the whole country, not just urban areas. They're asking restaurants to list at least 4 meals under 150 rupees. Why? Because millions of Indians rely on affordable food delivery. So this is a populist move. But while all of this sounds great on paper, here's a reality check. The food delivery business is cutthroat and the road to success is littered with bodies. There was Uber Eats, Food Panda, and Amazon dabbled into it during the pandemic. None of them survived. That's because the food delivery business is brutal. The margins are thin, customer expectations are sky high, and logistics, especially deliveries below 30 minutes, are not easy. Swiggy and Zomato have spent over a decade building this muscle. Can Rapido match them? Also, this company has faced legal and safety challenges in the past, Rapido. In Karnataka, its bike operations were suspended. They also face problems in other states. This is for operating without commercial licenses or permits. There are accessibility issues in its app. Also, Rapido is yet to become fully profitable. So these are a few issues in its current business. Will those plague its food delivery pitch too? We say time and lunch rush will answer that. But of course, the story is not just about Rapido. It's about the duopoly that made this necessary. The food delivery industry is long overdue for reform. Restaurants are exhausted from paying too much. Customers are fed up of paying extra, and the market is starting to resemble a monopoly just dressed up in 2 logos. Rapido is promising a different idea. It wants to rewrite the playbook, and maybe, just maybe, that's what the market needs. They can either crack this, and that will force the big 2 to clean up their act, or they can fail terribly, ending up as just another name in the food tech graveyard. But one thing's certain, Indians are hungry not just for food, but for fair pricing and transparency. Win or loss, they've already asked a question the duopoly was hoping no one would. Why does a 120 rupee sandwich cost 250 rupees? And now that it's been asked, the market cannot unhear it. India is in the grip of a heat wave, especially North India. Yesterday, New Delhi recorded its highest temperature of the season. And this rising heat is straining India's power grid. So the government is now exploring options. What should it do? They're considering new rules for air conditioners so that ACs come with fixed temperature settings. The range will be set between 20 and 28 degrees Celsius. This rule will apply to homes, offices and vehicles. The aim is to reduce power consumption and relieve pressure on the power grid. Now let me repeat, this is still under discussion. But if implemented, this won't be surprising. In India, AC ownership has tripled since 2010. There are now 24 units for every 100 households, and rising heat is fueling this demand. But this also points to a bigger problem. The planet is getting hotter, and we don't have comprehensive policy solutions. on how we plan our cities, how we allocate our resources. Also, this is not unique to India. Countries around the world are facing longer and deadlier heat waves. So how are they responding, and what can India learn from them? Here's a report.
A scorching summer, a surging demand for cooling, and a country under stress. As temperatures rise across India, the government is unveiling a new and innovative response. India's Power Ministry is working on a national standard for air conditioners. Indian Power Minister Manohar Lal Khattar announced the plan. He says temperature range of all air conditioners will be fixed. This includes the ACs in vehicles. The minimum temperature, 20 degrees Celsius. The maximum, 28 degrees. What's the goal behind this? India wants to cut energy consumption, reduce pressure on the power grid, and promote more efficient cooling. The minister said the rules will be implemented soon, and it will be part of a broader policy. The aim is to improve energy efficiency and lower electricity bills for households and businesses. It's a first-of-its-kind move, and a necessary one. But India's heatwave crisis goes well beyond thermostat settings. Recently, a study sounded an alarm for major Indian cities, like New Delhi and Mumbai. All of them are expected to witness unprecedented heat waves. There could be a twofold increase in heatwave days in the future. Already since 1993, India's heatwave days have jumped 15-fold. In the last decade alone, that number has jumped to 19-fold. And the monsoon? It's becoming longer, drier, and hotter. According to experts, these extremes are no longer unusual. They're the new normal. And it's not just India. The entire region is at risk. A recent World Bank report has issued a warning. By 2030, nearly 90% of South Asia's population will face extreme and prolonged heat. So, how are other countries responding? In France, heat waves are now 5 times more frequent than they were in 1989. In 2022, the country broke over 1,500 local heat records. It recorded 33 days of extreme temperatures in just 3 months. The French government has taken action by launching a national awareness campaign. They map cool spots in cities and send emergency alerts by text message to citizens when temperatures rise. France also educates people on how to stay safe at home. Japan has introduced a heat stroke alert system. It uses a special temperature index called the wet bulb globe temperature. When the index crosses 33 degrees Celsius, alerts are issued. They go out region-wise, and they are tailored by age group. Singapore has launched a national heatwave response plan. It includes a dedicated task force and a network of emergency cooling shelters. These include community centers and indoor sports halls. They are open to the public during heat emergencies. India's new AC limits are a step in the right direction, but they are not enough. What the country needs now is a national action plan. It must include public cooling centers. It must use early warning systems. And it must protect the most vulnerable, especially the poor and the elderly. Because this isn't just summer heat. It's a full-blown climate emergency. And India should prepare for it.
Can you fix a problem by throwing money at it? If you're Mark Zuckerberg, the answer is a resounding yes. Zuckerberg has an AI problem. He missed the first AI train. OpenAI, Google, and Microsoft are way ahead. So now the Meta CEO is making up for lost time. How? By throwing a mountain of cash at it. Meta is building a new super intelligence team. This will include at least 50 people. The goal is to create the world's most powerful AI platform, and to do that, Mark Zuckerberg is dangling big paychecks. They start at 7 figures, they go all the way to 9. You heard that right. Now, to put that in context, a 9-figure check is $100 million. That's more than 800 crore rupees. Imagine that. Zuckerberg is paying people tens of millions of dollars just to work on AI. One such star recruit is Alexander Wong. He is the 28-year-old founder of Scale AI. Meta is reportedly ready to invest $10 billion into his company. If it goes through, this will be Meta's biggest external investment ever. And not just that, Wong and Scale AI will officially join Meta's superintelligence team. On top of that, insiders say that Zuckerberg has gone into full headhunter mode. He is recruiting these people personally. He is inviting them to his many houses. He started a WhatsApp group called Recruiting Party, a WhatsApp chat group. He's even rearranging desks at the Meta headquarters just so that the new AI super team can sit closer to him. But what exactly is he hoping to achieve? Well, the mission itself is simple on paper: build superintelligence. But in practice, it's going to be tough. You see, AI is broadly characterized into three categories. First, artificial narrow intelligence, where the system is given one task and it does just that. Think your appliances or self-driving cars. The machine is given one task and it does that. That's the first stage. Then comes the second stage, artificial general intelligence, AGI. This is where AI can rival humans. They can do multiple things at the same time. Many call ChatGPT a step towards artificial general intelligence, but no company has cracked it yet. And then comes the last stage. It is called artificial superintelligence. In this stage, machines go beyond human intelligence. They have a mind of their own. You may remember Terminator, the movie. Well, this is that stage. Now, right now, Mark Zuckerberg is aiming for artificial general intelligence, or AGI, the second stage. That is his goal, to build an AGI model better than any other tech company. And that's because, like I said, Meta has long missed the AI train. So now Zuckerberg is trying to buy the tracks, rebuild the engine, and drive it himself. Basically, this is Zuckerberg going full Tony Stark. And Meta has something that most companies don't. They have scale. They have billions of users. They have data, infrastructure, and an ad business that is still printing cash. What they don't have, at least not yet, is the crown jewel. They don't have an AI model that impresses people. And then there's another catch. Building AGI, artificial general intelligence, is hard enough without internal politics. And Meta, according to insiders, is full of power struggles. It's like real-life Game of Thrones. There are too many managers, too much bloat, too many silos. All of that is affecting product development. On top of that, there's a public image problem. The metaverse did not exactly win hearts. Its AI model Llama does not make as much news as ChatGPT. So the superintelligence play might be Meta's clean slate, a way to rewrite the narrative. Because at the end of the day, this is about legacy. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't want to be remembered as the guy who built Facebook. This is what he said. He wants to be remembered as the guy who built the last invention that humanity needed. And for that, no check is big enough. Our next story comes from Kenya. It is protest season in this East African country, and this time it's over the death of a young blogger. Last Friday, he was arrested over a social media post. He was then taken 350 kilometers away to capital Nairobi. There, he was thrust in jail. And by the next day, he was dead. Police say he died by suicide, that he banged his head against the cell walls. But independent investigators say that he was assaulted, that he was beaten to death. And the post-mortem report has confirmed it. This has further angered Kenyans. For days now, young protesters have taken to the streets. They have demanded accountability, and the timing is crucial. About a year ago, anti-government protests rocked the country. They threatened President William Ruto's government, and now history seems to be repeating itself. Here is a report.
This is Albert Omondi Ojwang, a 31-year-old Kenyan blogger and activist. The digital creator had often talked about political and social issues on social media platforms. Recently, he posted on X criticizing the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Eliud Lagat. So Lagat filed a complaint that his name was being tarnished on social media. He arrested the activist in Homa Bay, a town in western Kenya, on Friday. On Saturday, Ojwang was transferred more than 350 kilometers to the capital Nairobi and booked into the Central Police Station. Later that day, he was dead. He was found unconscious in his cell. The police said this was due to self-inflicted injuries. They claimed that the activist, quote-unquote, sustained head injuries after hitting his head against a cell wall, that he had killed himself. And this has sparked massive outrage in Kenya. This week, hundreds of people have taken to the streets. They have staged protests in Nairobi, demanding that police be held accountable. Some protesters have clashed with the police after officers used tear gas on activists multiple times.
He cannot instruct police officers 400 kilometers away to pick an individual and bring him all the way to Central Police Station. This is the highest impunity that we are seeing in this country. We cannot allow this trend to happen.
The Ojwang family has blamed the police for the death. They say that the body bore signs of severe physical trauma, including swelling on the head, nose, and ears, which is inconsistent with a single impact against a wall. So Kenya's Independent Policing Oversight Authority launched an inquiry into his death earlier this week. And now the report is out. It says that the cause of death is very clear. Everything points towards assault. This comes as no surprise to Kenyans who are all too familiar with police violence in the country, and it has further spurred backlash amid mounting anger. After all, the blogger's death comes as Kenya approaches its one-year anniversary of the youth uprising. Over the past decade, Kenya has seen several protests over the cost of living. But last year's protests against government corruption and tax reforms took a new turn. The state responded with force, killing dozens of protesters. But this did not break the spirit of the uprising. It gave voice to a new generation of citizens, forcing President William Ruto to veto his own bill and fire his cabinet. 1 year later, economic frustrations remain high. Joblessness is still a major issue, and youth-led movement remains a potent threat to Ruto. Amid this, Ojwang's death has made matters worse for his government. Ruto says that he is shocked by Ojwang's death. He has called it a heartbreaking and unacceptable occurrence. But protesters want more than just empty words of consolation.
They are seriously lying to us. They are killing us and keep on lying to us. We will not accept that at all. Albert Ojwang must get justice. We will be here every day. This is just the beginning. We were here yesterday, and we will be here up to the June 25th, 2025. It will be the culmination of demonstrations for everything, including the protest against the Finance Bill 2025.
Amid renewed calls for government accountability, Ruto should know that history could repeat itself if words are not replaced by action.
Capitalism comes for all of us, even if you're a communist state, and especially if you are China. Take Beijing's propaganda machine, for instance. It is already in overdrive. There is state-controlled media, internet censorship, rampant disinformation, surveillance, harassment, even arrests. So what could Xi Jinping possibly do more? If you think that he's run out of ideas, well, think again. The Chinese propaganda playbook has another weapon in its arsenal: outsourcing. China wants to outsource propaganda. It wants influencers to do what they do best: influence. But this time, do it in China's favor. And the plan is already in place. The Chinese government is organizing an influencer junket. They're inviting young social media influencers to visit China. They have launched a recruitment drive, and certain criteria must be met. The influencers must be American. They must love Chinese culture, quote unquote, and have at least 300,000 followers. Needless to say, they must be active on social media, on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and X. Now remember, most of these apps are banned in China. But that won't matter because the content is not for Chinese citizens. It is for the rest of the world, especially the Western world. Tensions are deteriorating, or rising rather, between Washington and Beijing. Trade, tech, geopolitics, everything seems to be caught in the crossfire. So President Xi is focusing on soft power, on influence via social media. Hence the fancy influencer junket. It will be an all-expenses-paid 10-day trip. Participants will visit multiple Chinese cities. They will visit the headquarters of Chinese companies like BYD. They will visit the Great Wall, of course. They will partake in cultural activities. All they have to do is live stream all of this, make vlogs, click selfies, and show people the quote-unquote real China. Not the human rights abuses, not the repression, the other real China. And let me tell you, China is not new to this game. Over the past few years, Beijing has cultivated a network of influencers with millions of followers from the US, Russia, the Czech Republic and Israel. Also from ethnic minority communities like Tibetans. And most of all from Taiwan, which China claims as part of its territory. And it is almost always the same story. The influencers get an invite, the flights are paid for, they land in China, they get the red carpet treatment, they're hosted by the government or by Chinese companies. Sometimes they collaborate with brands, sometimes they have to perform, sometimes they enjoy the cultural experience, but they always have to praise China. And they get paid big bucks for it. The details usually remain hidden from public knowledge, but as per reports, Taiwanese influencers have earned more than $300,000 a year. Because this is China's influencer diplomacy. It helps them shape the global narrative and change negative opinions. This is much softer than China's usual grey zone intimidation. It is both shady and smart. But like most things Chinese, it is not original. Influencer diplomacy is used all over the world, in fact. It is called polyphonous communication. I know it sounds complicated, but it simply means inauthentic media campaigns which can expand global influence and control narrative abroad. Last year, the Maldives tried this after tensions rose with India. Their leaders made derogatory comments against India, so Indian tourists began boycotting the Maldives, and Mali decided to control the damage by inviting Indian influencers. North Korea is at it too. Last year, they invited influencers from Russia. It was Kim's diplomatic gesture for his BFF, Putin. And none of this is surprising. Influencers are no longer just baking banana bread or shooting YouTube videos from their bedrooms. They are now a $30 billion economy, the influencer economy. They are shaping public opinion, and they seem to have opened a new frontier in propaganda wars. After all, in a capitalist world, everyone needs marketing, even a certain repressive communist regime. There are two types of people in this world, those who like to freeze to sleep and everyone else. And that first group will not be happy today because the Indian government is looking to curb AC usage. No more blasting the AC at 16 degrees. The new lower limit is 20 degrees. You cannot go below that. Of course, the idea here is to reduce power usage and protect the environment. Several other countries have done it too, but a lot of Indians are not thrilled. They say, my AC, my remote, my rules. Take a look.
तो फांसी होगी, फांसी।
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Hundreds of Gazans flee from gunfire near a crowded aid distribution site. Protesters damage a TV station in Argentina over a former president's prison sentence, and a robot joins NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang for his keynote speech in Paris. And finally, we are taking you back in history. On this day in 1955, the world witnessed the deadliest crash in motor racing history. 3 cars crashed on the Le Mans racetrack in France. They plowed into the spectators' grandstand. 83 people were killed and more than 100 were injured. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Would require an average speed of more than 100, including hills and for refueling. Mike Hawthorne was co-driver of the most transit British.
Okay. Wreck and manipulate in those environments on sand and on, on gravel. Yeah. Bam, bam. It's very clear. It's very clear an industrial revolution has started.